It's J-Dawn Mom, and this is a flashback video. That means I'm going to share with you some lessons I learned when my kids were little. So today we're talking about 6 things you can do to manage a busy toddler in public. J-Dawn Mom here, grown mom with grown kids. Every week I share real-time vlogs of my life as a MOYA, a mother of young adults, as well as flashback videos, like this one, of lessons learned over 3 decades of raising 6 kids. So let's get to it. The first thing you can do to help manage a loud or busy toddler in public is to be prepared. So that means before you go out to whatever event you're at, prepare yourself and prepare your toddler. That means having a little conversation about what to expect, what you want from your toddler, and what the situation is going to look like. They understand some they don't, but talk to them on their level and let them understand whatever they can. In the meantime, prepare yourself as a mom to know, I'm going into a situation where my toddler may or may not kind of go along with what I'd like to happen. So be prepared for whatever that looks like. Pack up your bag, make sure you have lots of necessary things in it, which we'll talk about in some of the other numbers. And another thing you can do before going out to these events is ongoingly train your toddler to sit quietly and entertain himself or herself. And so what that looks like is on a daily basis, every now and then you give your toddler something to play with, and you allow them to play alone for certain blocks of time, whether it's a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and kind of build it up. You're actually training them to be still and to practice entertaining themselves. Now, I'm not saying this is going to work every time. I mean, they're people, they're toddlers, they have certain things they can do and certain things they just can't, and that's okay. But it's a training, the same way we train them in everything else that we expect of them. So do that in times when you're not going out to an event, and by doing that a bit at a time, when you actually are going out, they're more likely to do what you would have them do. Number 2, know your child's limits. Respect their limitations. Set them up for success. So depending on the time of the event that you're going to, you can maybe manipulate their nap time or their wake-up time in the morning to help to support that. Perhaps you can wake them up a little earlier so they'll be a little more tired at the time of the event. Maybe you can shift their nap time so that instead of sleeping in the car, perhaps they can sleep at the event. They may be able to take a nap in their stroller or on your lap during the event. Never overlook the power of a good nap. But whatever you do, try to work around your toddler's schedule. They can only do so much, and we really need to protect their time and their development. So work your events around their schedule wherever possible. Number 3, bring all the necessary snacks and supplies. So yes, that's snacks to eat and drink, obviously quiet snacks that don't require a lot of rustling or messiness or spoons and things like that. Just bite-sized little snacks. Snacks that they can pick up themselves work really well. So whether it be a graham cracker that you break into little bite-sized pieces, or Cheerios. I mean, for us, my kids love Cheerios and Kix cereal. And we used to call them Chi-Chis and Kix. And we would have them in a little cup with a slidey lid that they can get them out of. And that would occupy them. So not only are they getting a snack, but they're using their fine motor skills and they're sort of concentrating and they're kind of picking up this item, which takes a little bit longer for them to do that, which buys you a little more time while they're eating their snack. Try not to make the snack so easy that they just shovel it in and then they're moving on to the next thing. And then there are quiet toys. Make sure you bring some little toys that are interesting, things that are visually or textually appealing for them to play with. Also board books and coloring books. These are great options as well, where they can do a little activity quietly, something to stimulate them and keep them occupied and engaged. A blanket and maybe a little comfort toy or comfort item that your kid really likes to snuggle with. These are good things to do as they kind of get tired, and you can, put a blanket on, snuggle up, and have them take a little nap, or even just have some peaceful, quiet time. Moms, anything you've done in this situation, things you've brought, why don't you leave them in the comments below so we can share those things with each other as well. Number 4, when you arrive at the event, scope it out. Do some reconnaissance. See how the place is laid out. Find a couple of spots around, maybe a spot in the back area or off to the side, which you can take your child to if he or she gets a little too busy. Find out, where's the bathroom? Is there a back hallway or somewhere where you can go take a little walk and stretch your legs, and your toddler can stretch their legs as well? It's important, if the event is kind of long, to know that sitting on someone's lap or sitting next to you, although your child loves you and you love them, sometimes it's irritating to have someone touching you all the time. So sometimes if you use your blanket, maybe find a spot off in the back or off to the side, and you can lay the blanket out, and you and your child can sit on it, and they can play with something or eat their snack, and they're not touching you, and they feel kind of a little more freedom and sort of a different vibe. Number 5, circle through stations as you're occupying your toddler's mind. So what I mean by stations is kind of these different things. Toddlers' attention spans are not that long, as you know. So you kind of have to have variety. So you may start with sitting on your lap, and then maybe have a snack or something to drink. And that's kind of a station, something you can do to take a little time. When they get tired of that, you move on to the next thing, maybe a board book, and point out some things in there, or a coloring book where they can kind of color a little bit, right? And that's a station. And then you can move on to take the blanket, walk to the back of the room, sit on the floor with one of the quiet toys to play with. And that's a different station. They get a little too restless. Maybe it's time for a walk. That's another station. Go take a little walk to the bathroom or up the hallway and kind of get a little energy out. Work your way back. And so as you work through these stations, your toddler is getting different things to do, a little variety, and kind of when they lose their attention span or they kind of get tired of one thing, you're prepared with the next thing in line, and kind of work through those stations as you're going through the event. Now for these stations, I need to make a note. Electronic devices are not the best bet. I know that we as parents, sometimes we just use what we've got, right? And so I understand there are times when we have to do these things, but research has shown over and over again that our toddlers' brains are developing, and electronic devices and stimulation and all of that that's coming from the blue screen, as well as all the action on the screen, is not ideal for them at this age. So I do not recommend giving your child your cell phone or an iPad or some kind of device for them to use during the event to keep them quiet. Yes, it absolutely works. It keeps them good and quiet, but at what cost? So do the research yourself. I encourage you, and find out what would be best for your child, but I do not recommend giving them devices to keep them quiet. That is a skill they must learn: self-control, self-soothing, and ways to entertain themselves. That is a very important skill that will serve them well throughout their lives. Number 6, the last thing to do to help with a loud or busy toddler in public is to simply be willing to leave. Yes, I said it. Parents, we are the supreme sacrificers, aren't we? You have to be willing to just leave the event. If your toddler just can't handle it, sometimes they're just really cranky, they didn't sleep well the night before, or perhaps they just don't have the stamina that they usually have. For whatever reason, we're people. I mean, we have our good days and bad days, right? So do they. So if it comes down to it and you've done all the other 5 steps and it just isn't happening, that your child is just a mess, you may just have to throw in the towel, pack them up, and leave. So that brings us to the point that if you're going to an event that's really important, that you really value, that you really want to pay attention to, maybe that's not the event to take your toddler to. So consider leaving your toddler at home with a trusted adult, or maybe someone who's come along to the event with you agrees that if your toddler gets to the last level and just can't do anymore, they will be willing to take your toddler home or outside and sit and wait for the rest of the event. So that's another option. But either way, you just have to be ready to leave the event. So there you have it. 6 things to do when you've got a busy toddler in public. So any other things you think you would add to this list? Add them in the comments below. Things you did, things that worked and didn't work when your child was out in public. Let us know. Moms, share with each other, because moms learn so much from other moms. If you're liking this J-Dawn mom vibe, hit the subscribe button and hit the like if you like this video. It's been real. Till next time, Iggsy.